Hi, my name is Jocelyn Roche. I'll be presenting my environmental data project for Tynes Beach, Missouri, USA. I am in Professor Jack Caravonis' class, the GEH Fall of 2020. Before I start, I would like to give you a brief background of Tynes Beach and how it came to be. In 1925, the St. Louis Times newspaper had an idea to make a tourist town, and they were offering a modest plot of land and a 6-month subscription to the newspaper for $67.50. The objective of this presentation is to discuss the events that occurred in Tynes Beach, Missouri. I'll give you a brief timeline. We'll briefly speak about the community demographic and the events that led to the downfall of Tynes Beach, Missouri. In the table of contents, as we just discussed, I'll give you the overview of the city of Tynes Beach. We'll break down the key issues that led to the downfall. We'll also discuss the parties associated with the demise of Tynes Beach and the effects that the event had on all inhabitants, including the humans that were living there and also the animals. We'll also discuss the government's role in the events, and we'll give you a brief summary of the present day Tynes Beach, Missouri. I did want to just show you here that this is the last mayor of Tynes Beach. Her name was Marilyn Leisner. Tynes Beach inhabitants in the 1970s were poor to low middle class. And I just want to give you that because it's going to frame as to why this even happened to begin with. So in Tynes Beach, since the inhabitants were low poor to lower middle class, the town did not have money to pave the roads, and so there were a lot of dirt roads in Tynes Beach, Missouri. So that's a little context and background for you. There was a chemical company called Northeastern Pharmaceutical Chemical Company, aka NAPACO. It was located near Tynes Beach in a town called Verona. And they were producing chemical, and there was a waste byproduct which was tainted with dioxin. It was in the form of an oil. NAPACO decided to outsource their disposal of this waste. They hired a man named Russell Bliss to haul the waste out of the chemical plant. Bliss owned a chemical waste company, and he had oil of his own. He mixed the tainted oil from NAPACO with his own oil and began to spray the dirt roads to control the dust in Tynes Beach. Tynes Beach City hired Bliss to spray all the roads in the city because they were not paved. Russell Bliss was also hired by the neighbors, the businesses, to do their private property and to also spray in their businesses like their horse arenas. The residents of Tynes Beach began having lethal levels of dioxin in their soil because of the oil that was mixed by Russell Bliss. The oil was the NAPACO oil and his own oil. Majority of the people who got sick in Tynes Beach were affected because the soil was contaminated. In present day, people are generally affected by dioxin through food. So, for example, in Tynes Beach, they had a lot of horses, they had a lot of cows. And so the cows and the horses, unfortunately, would eat the grass. The horses would therefore die, and the cows would then also, they would be affected, they would die as well. But it's possible that the inhabitants of Tynes Beach also ate the products from the cows that could have also gotten them sick. The dioxin levels in 1983 were exponentially higher than what they should have been and what is considered to be safe. In 1983, the EPA went and got soil samples they found that the soil samples were 100 parts per billion, which is significantly higher than the considered safe level of 1 part per billion. The effects of dioxin on humans is ultimately, in high levels, death, cancer. In mild levels, it can produce chloracne, which is a skin disorder, which is just another form of acne. In animals, it can cause liver cancer, it can cause death, and it also can cause skin disorders. So in the horses, you would see that they'd be losing fur and they would have like boils and rashes on their skin. I wanted to show you the stark contrast of Times Beach in 1990 and Times Beach in 2009. In 1983, after the EPA found that the levels were so high at 100 parts per billion, they demanded all the residents of Times Beach, Missouri to evacuate. That Times Beach, Missouri city was then condemned and bought by the United States government. And it was bought back, and the residents were able to get some money and were able to be relocated. And so here in this image in 1990, this city was already evacuated. However, you can still see some of the homes were there. In 2009, which is close to present day 2020, this park was placed there. It is a state park and it is open, and you can see that they planted a lot of trees. They essentially made this a very nice state park. In summary, I would like to give you a timeline to better explain the events here that happened in Times Beach, Missouri. In 1971, the residents fell ill, and this is when Russell Bliss began spraying the roads down with the dioxin-tainted oil. In 1974, the CDC identified that dioxin was the cause of many illnesses in the city of Times Beach, Missouri. In 1980, the town becomes one of the first Superfund sites in the U.S. In 1983, residents are forced out and relocated. In 1996, incinerators were used to safely destroy homes, businesses, water towers, etc. Everything standing in Times Beach, Missouri was destroyed. In 2001, the EPA determines Times Beach, Missouri is safe and it doesn't pose a threat. It is removed from the NPL. In 2012, the EPA conducts a soil sample and finds the area no longer poses a significant public health risk to visitors and workers. And as I said, a state park is now in its place of what once was Times Beach, Missouri. Here is a bike path. You see two people riding along, and they are going about their merry way. And I did want to also show you my references, my Works Cited page. Again, my name is Gislina. I want to thank you so much for coming and loving my presentation. Thank you and have a good night.